The Square Ball Podcast.
And we are off with another show, another Square Ball Roundup. Welcome to it. Podcast app, you'll find this as well as YouTube. It's brought to you with Levi Solicitors. Michael, are you going to unveil something exciting and new for me today?
I am, because I've got some words on a screen in front of me. The words say care home fees.
Wow, the glamorous world of care home fees.
Yep, something I'm concerned about given my own physical decline. But if a loved one needs to move to a care home, they may be entitled to funding from a local authority or the NHS, but it's not always straightforward.
Right.
I don't know any more than that, but people at Levi's do.
Yeah, and it's best left to them, I think, rather than entrusting this one to Michael. There's a 10% discount on your legal fees on their full range of services. That includes
wills, probate, conveyancing.
Thank you for playing the hits for me. Full details, terms on the website, which you will find at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. It's down with Michael and Chris Mack as we round up the latest from Ellen Road, our weekly roundup. It's external to Ellen Road, probably, I think, where we start today, because we're now recording after the midweek fixtures. Obviously, we won at Watford, a glorious romp, as you would have heard us talk about on Match Ball on Tuesday/Wednesday. Sunderland beat Luton 2-0. Luton are bottom, aren't they?
They are.
Dropping like a stone.
Yeah. Angus Kinnear, obviously, having very difficult parallel lives here. Sheffield United 3, Middlesbrough 1. That was the one I watched. Did you watch any of that?
No, I was watching the Champions League instead. Partly because I looked at all three fixtures before kickoff and realised that Leeds had beaten all of these teams at home. So sort of expected them to win. Had a little bit of hope, but as you say, our expectations were low.
Yeah. And Burnley breaking the brand with a 2-0 home victory against Hull. I think the one out of the three that maybe anybody had any vague hope around was Middlesbrough getting something at Sheffield United, which looked like it was on for a bit after they got the penalty, a hilarious penalty as well, which really upset Chris Wilder. So I'm all for that. Just a little bit of tugging in the box.
It was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, wasn't it?
But I think the ref only saw
my interpretation.
The ref only saw half of that.
And I'm happy enough for Chris Wilder to be angry about it as well. So, yeah, a bit of a letdown. After us winning and looking at the league table and going, that'll do. If just someone else drops points, it's all going to be fine.
Yeah, but I'm like Chris on this one. I thought, as long as we've done our job, because this was one of those weeks where you looked at it and you went, oh, that's probably going to be a week where everybody catches up. And actually, they haven't. We're just another week closer to the end. But yeah, it was a little bit of a disappointment. If it happened the other way around, let's say, these had been the Tuesday games, then Leeds had played on the Wednesday and done that, and you'd be like absolutely bouncing off the walls, excited, wouldn't you? So, I think we're in a good place. And we roll forward to Monday. That's going to be a big one, isn't it? That'll be fun.
Yeah, we kind of were hoping other people would do our job for us, really, weren't we? But given we have Sunderland and Sheffield United to play in the next couple of weeks,
it's there, isn't it?
It's there for us to just do it.
If you want something done right, just do it yourself.
Yeah. It's by far the easiest way, rather than us just beating some chumps and then hoping some other chumps beat Burnley or Sheffield United or whatever. Just go and beat these teams ourselves.
Yeah, we're going to preview the Sunderland game on Monday morning after we know what the weekend results are. So we'll have a look at what Sheffield United and Burnley have done there in the Saturday fixtures. But Sunderland are 7 points behind us. It's fairly crucial. If we beat them, you open that gap up to 10 points. If they beat us, it's back within sniffing distance, isn't it? So not losing, I think, is quite important there. Winning, I think, would be a good idea.
Are you sure? Do you not want to keep it interesting? Keep us on our toes?
No, I want this to be as uninteresting as humanly possible. But if you came out of that with a win, everyone's going to be absolutely riding the crest of a wave. And then you can go to Sheffield United, and then there's not huge pressure on you to get a win there, I suppose. But it's just one game at a time. I'm sure they'll be treating it like that. Plymouth 5, Millwall 1.
Funny.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
They're just concentrating on the cup, aren't they?
Looks that way. I saw you needling Danny Baker. Did he ever reply to you?
He didn't. So for anybody who didn't see that, journalist and broadcaster Danny Baker is a Millwall fan.
He's actually probably the best Millwall fan, truth be told, against, pretty slim competition of Greg Wallace and who's the journalist, Richard Littlejohn.
Yeah.
He's not got a huge... are there any others? Theopathetis?
Greg Wallace being a Millwall fan is so on brand.
Yeah.
But But anyway, so he's got a little bit of edgelord to his personality as Danny Baker, but he tries to do it in a sort of disarming, chummy way. But he was tweeting, and he tweeted at LUFC in this when Leeds fans were saying, look, we're concentrating on the league. And as we were saying, after losing to Millwall, to go to Watford and win 4-0, I think justifies the approach in the cup game. But they enjoyed themselves in the cup game, which is their right, because they came to Ellen Road and beat us. So, fair enough. But he was saying that why can't we just accept that we just went out? Why is it concentrating on the league? So I just tweeted him back and just said, you're quiet tonight, Danny. You just concentrating on the cup.
Very good. I'm just, on Google have introduced this AI.
Can I say I gave myself a big pat on the back?
AI overview, which is permanently wrong. I've asked for famous Millwall fans, and it tells me that Denzel Washington is a Millwall fan.
Right?
That's not true, is it? He may have once gone to a Millwall game.
Let's see if we can verify it.
Are you sure it's not Denzel from Only Fools and Horses?
Gary Oldman apparently as well, which is a shame because I've enjoyed him in Slow Horses.
I'm just going to see if I can verify that with another bastion of truth. That's Wikipedia.
Oh, okay, that's fair enough.
So if we can find it on there, it must be true.
David Hay is also listed on there, which seems about right.
Nothing in the marriage and family or religious beliefs bit on Denzel's Wikipedia. No. Nothing there that I can see. But we may have to investigate this one further.
He seems unlikely, is all I'm saying.
Mm.
Apparently Gary Oldman's dad played for Millwall.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll probably allow that then.
Is his first name now Very?
Hey. Very good.
Thank you. So they lost to previously bottom of the table Plymouth 5-1, which is funny.
Who do I actually want to go down? Because I've ended up
tough, isn't it?
I've ended up kind of wanting Plymouth and Cardiff to stay up as a result of propaganda.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Derby is still in a world of trouble, but it looks like Eustace is going there from Blackburn. They beat West Brom in the midweek fixture, which I think is quite a good result for them. Was Eustace still in charge of them then?
No, Eustace was stood down
for
that game because of ongoing negotiations with another club. Blackburn have put up a couple of quite pointed statements. Probably the best
salty?
way. Yeah, very salty. And I think they basically said that ongoing negotiations with Derby means that he'll not be taking over or taking charge for this game.
I think
it's only the right thing to Blackburn to do to put Tony Parks in charge when a manager changes. I know he's probably about 85 now, but he was always in charge, wasn't he, in the 90s? Just would go manager out. Tony Parks would come in, do a good job for a few games, but then he never wanted the main job, did he?
No.
Just would always step back.
Yeah, always the bridesmaid. Always the bridesmaid. I don't know. I suspect because Luton have
thinking of Tony Parks in a nice dress now.
I think Luton might drop because they've just been poor all season. I suspect Plymouth will regress to the mean and probably go down because they're just not very good and their goal difference is the worst. But we might get one little surprise package in there. I say surprise, they're very low themselves, like someone like Stoke or maybe even the Cardiff boy has to endure a relegation because they're all gurgling the plug hole. It would be funny to see Hull drop, although that would be sad for Lynn. Can you think of a way you might want to comfort her if Joffrey goes down with Hull?
Yes, I can.
Right. Do you want to share that?
Nope. It's weird, isn't it? They're looking at the league table outside of the top four because there's just some really bad teams who are right on the fringe of the playoffs.
Right, yeah.
Like
Bristol.
Sheffield Wednesday and Bristol and Coventry.
Bristol are supposed to be in mid-table, not troubling the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they are also in mid-table is the other thing. They're literally like 2 points off being mid-table.
Is it maybe more a case that below fourth, between fifth and about 14th, 15th, because of how good the top four have been, the standard for reaching the playoffs this year is going to be a lot lower than in previous years? Because it seems to me 48 points to be fifth after 32 games seems quite low.
Yeah, it does.
Although that could be wrong.
I looked at game week 32, so basically the table this time last season, just to see where it was stratified, and it was weird. Leicester were obviously out in front at that point. I think they got 78 points or something by this week last season. And then they endured something of a bit of not a collapse, but they didn't do great towards the end of the season. But by the by, they went up. And they're coming back now. Yeah, but then there was it 3 or 4 teams all in that group that we were in?
Well, us, Ipswich
And
and
then
Southampton all got 90 points or above, didn't we?
So it was us three. So they were out in front, and there was the group of three, and then it was similar, I think, last season, Chris. To be honest, like there was a very tight gap through that middle stretch. It just seems to have stratified into a top four this season. Just pull away, Leeds, is what we're saying.
4 up, 4 down. No playoffs. Let's make it simple.
It would be nice. I think I've told you before about how the way that Serie B in Italy works, where if third or more than 14 points clear of fourth, the playoffs are cancelled and they just go up automatically.
That's a really good idea, that.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that gets the playoffs cancelled, essentially, I'm in favour of. Even if sometimes we would, if we finish fifth and we don't have to do the playoffs, I'm fine with that too, given how shit they are. Have you got it in your diary anyway?
What's that?
Playoffs. They've announced the dates, haven't they, for the final?
I don't need that, do I?
It's
we're almost guaranteed the playoffs, by the way.
Saturday the 24th. Yeah, I mean, we're going to need a points deduction probably to not get in the playoffs.
So we are.
Given the way it's looking.
We are currently, oh my God, we're 24 points clear of Bristol in 7th. And there's only, how many games left? 14. Yeah. Oh God, that's not many, is it?
Nope.
What's that? Is that 52?
Yeah, we're in the playoffs. It's basically done. No, I mean, hopefully we're not in the playoffs. I mean, if we stopped playing, we'd still be in the playoffs pretty much. Yes.
How come the playoff finals on Saturday this year? It was a Sunday last year.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems it's before the League 1 and 2 games this time around.
I know the Monday's the bank holiday, but I'm not sure. It was the Monday would have been the bank holiday last year, so I'm not sure what the criteria is for changing it.
So what are the dates again? Sorry,
it's the 24th of May, which is a Saturday, yeah, and then the League 1 and 2 ones are after it. Whereas I think last year it was the other way around.
They've done it again, and they stuck it right between our birthdays.
Yeah, that's why they do it.
Yeah,
it's also when the season ends. So I think that's probably what motivates
right.
it.
I thought it was personal.
The FA Cup final was on the Saturday last year, which is probably why.
Okay,
it's the week before this year.
Right. Okay. Saturday the 24th of May. I'm having nothing to do with it.
I'm busy.
Because if that date becomes a factor in our lives, it means things have gone bad for me.
I genuinely have booked to go away that week.
Right.
Because it's half term at school and I'm only in England and it is cancelable. And I fully expect to backtrack on this when our season collapses. But as it stands, I don't plan to be doing anything football related that weekend.
Did you see the message from Ben on the feedback form from members?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Seeing that the playoff dates have been slightly added to the EFL website and booking my hotel at the inflated prices just in case during the game. Oh, the Leeds crippling doubt is always around, even when coasting 4-0 away from home. I'm expecting to get a refund on the hotel, though. Come on, lads, don't fuck it up. It says it all, doesn't it?
I've not yet booked a hotel. But
do you see there was that little stat doing the rounds? It was a statistician who put on... it was a picture of, I think it was expected goals. It was expected goals, non-penalty goals, basically. Long story short, how much better are we statistically at creating chances than our opponents is this metric. And this guy said that we are basically one of the best teams ever to be at this level, at championship level. We're closing in on the stats that Reading were posting in their record 106-point season. And it's basically, we are effectively 1.3 goals better off than our opponents on average at the start of every game. Every game.
Done deal. Then.
So we should win 1.3 to 0 every week.
That's basically Scott Parker's wet dream, isn't it? 1.3 to 0. That's essentially what they aim for.
Yeah, but it's quite a stat, is that we are that much better statistically at creating chances than our opponents. It's a huge advantage that we need to capitalise on.
Yeah, I have written today for the blog about just sitting back and enjoying it, because about 35, 40 minutes into the Watford game, it just sort of hit me like we are definitely the best team in the league, and we have been brilliant in the last sort of 4 or 5 games, but it's just really fun to watch them, especially on a night where another team actually dares to play against you, and just everything clicked. Like Pirro away from home is starting to click now. We don't really need to worry about, like on a day where a team actually tries to play against Leeds, it's just frightening to watch Leeds.
It does feel like the whole thing has gone up a level in the last 3 games, I think. Obviously, scoring 7 goals helps, doesn't it?
Yeah. We've made it clear now, you can either sit back and give us possession and we'll probably eventually break you down, or you can try to come out and play and press us and move your defence up the pitch. and we'll just knock it over the top, and Dan James will run onto it. And there's not an awful lot you can do because teams at this level are generally speaking not good enough to play out of a good press, as we may find next year if we go up to the Premier League and you're up against a far higher caliber of player.
Yeah,
it becomes incredibly difficult to actually do these things to the point where, as Watford did, it just melted their brains at points and they just passed it straight to Dan James.
Yeah, and the number of managers, like I think was it Cleverly who was, we didn't get Cleverly's comments on the match ball, but I've since seen them and he was talking about us being sort of mid-table Premier League level, which it's an enticing idea, isn't it? Because you start to project yourself into the future and think, oh, we could do all right, and then you kid yourself into thinking, well, we're definitely going up because he said that, and we'll survive fine because he said that.
It is all anyone is saying.
Yeah,
it's impossible to find anyone talking about Leeds not saying it. It's weird.
I can't remember which manager it was. It might have been either Derby or Oxford in December, made a point that nobody else has mentioned about the athleticism of the players. It's the Premier League athleticism, which is noticeable when you look at how they never really tire in games. And maybe part of that's down to how Farke has them set up and it's not, gung-ho from the get-go. But it is noticeable how there is a vast difference physically between us and pretty much every team that we play against. But it's all set up for real. I'm really excited for Monday. Like I was saying it about a month ago that it feels like it's all been building up to the next few weeks being quite pivotal, but just really fun. And Ellen Road bouncing, the away fans bouncing whenever they go to Sheffield United the week after.
As one of my mates messaged me yesterday, Ashley said, I'm so looking forward to the next two games. They're the ones you do all the long miles for. These two are game on. There is the jeopardy we crave. Win them. It's proper elation. It is, isn't it? You've got to embrace these opportunities. I'm with you, Chris. I'm bordering. If I could just suppress my existential Leeds United terror a little bit more, I'd probably be enjoying this at the minute. And I think if we get to the end of the season, we've done it. We'll look back on it as this was the period when we cemented our chance. If we don't fuck it up,
yeah.
But I am actually really looking forward to Monday, and I'm really enjoying it. And I did say to a separate friend in a different message, just saying, actually, enjoy this at the minute because it's good to be a Leeds fan at the minute. Yeah. It's a rare thing when you're in a really nice headspace as a football fan.
Yeah, I mean, I am slightly scarred by looking forward to similar games in the past. Like, remember when we went up under Bielsa, we went up against Sheffield United, and there was huge anticipation around it, and then we didn't have a brilliant game, and there was the goal where there was a slip in it, and it was all a bit of an anticlimax in the end. So I'm kind of wary of that, of almost looking forward to it too much.
Do you feel like, sort of touching on what Chris was saying about, like, we were saying about the level having gone up, I feel like I trust this team more now than I have done at any point in the season. And I know Leeds United could always let us down at any given point, but that's where I feel emotionally. Like I've got a real belief in them that they believe it themselves now.
Yeah. They've been more emphatic and more assured in the last month. When you compare it to this time last season, I know we just hit form in January and February, and like some brilliant wins, but it looked a little bit more desperate. Whereas this year, obviously, we've talked about the collective more so than the individual. It just looked that little bit better.
I think there's a trust in the players as well, because I was talking about this the other night, how at the start of the season when Rodon had signed, he was fine at the start of the season, but he wasn't the player we'd had the year before, and he's not the player he's been the past couple of months. But he's found form. We now know what Tanaka is about. We know what Rothwell's about. So there's a level of faith in these people. Solomon, some of the early days, you were like, oh, is this guy just a slightly disinterested, unfit Premier League loanee? Actually, he looked amazing the last month or so, hasn't he? He's been, along with Dan James, probably been our best player. So it's all kind of come together, hasn't it? To the extent where Ramazani and Nonto are not even contributing at the moment, because
I was going to say,
they're coming on when games are won.
Do this thought experiment then. Everything you just said there, factor it into this idea. If we played Portsmouth at home this weekend versus what happened on the opening day, it feels like it'd be night and day.
I mean, I had a load of confidence going into that opening day.
I know, but it's just, that was the sort of confidence that you would have going into the game if it was this weekend with the team playing as they are now. You'd be like, we could stick another 5, 6, 7 past these lot. Whereas that opening day was a bit of a shock to the system because, like you say, it didn't quite gel.
It's taken time to grow into it as well, because we did lose 4 starting players over the summer.
Yeah.
Like I know the year before was the big rebuild, and that's the one at times felt like I don't really know where this is going. But this summer, like, to lose 4 starting players at any team in the Championship is quite difficult to overcome. But it just took a little bit of time, and like, we've grown into it. It does. There are parallels with our last promotion season, where in the first season we looked a little bit more free flowing, but more vulnerable defensively. Whereas in the 1920 season, it was pure business. This year, it just feels a bit more businessy.
Which we have said, haven't we, before? We said it feels more businesslike and sort of perfunctory, some of it. And it was a little bit hard to get like romantically attached to that idea earlier in the season. But now we're here and we're sweeping teams aside. You're like, oh, that all made sense now. Yeah.
You look at, like, we're doing all the basics right in games. And that tends to be the best teams do the basics right. Like, if you look at, not comparing them, but Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, as much as it was like about sheer domination of games, it was doing the basics right. Like, you look at New Zealand rugby, they do the basics right, and that extra 5-10% of flair is allowed by the fact that they're able to do the basics right every game, almost perfectly, almost 100%.
There's a large margin for error in our performances at the moment. It feels like when you look at, like, that's just on a statistical level, you can look at the stats of a lot of Sheffield United games and they're behind on the XG, or it's been very close. Whereas generally you look at ours and you'll go, right, they've had 1 big chance, we've had 6.
That's exactly what I was on about.
That sort of a thing when you go, even if an awful lot has to go wrong in individual moments of this game for us not to win it.
Yeah, that's what that stat was basically representing, that expected non-penalty goals expected thingy.
Yeah.
That. Anyway.
I feel like from the start of the season as well, the last few weeks, Bogle and Firpo as well. I think Bogle has been gradually improving through the season, but it feels like those two now, with James and Solomon in front of them, it feels like that part of the team is formidable all of a sudden. Partnerships
as well.
Yeah.
They're forming good partnerships. Anyway, now we've talked ourselves into exactly why we're going up. The EFL kickoff dates for next season. 2nd or 3rd of August is League 1 and League 2. The 9th or 10th of August is the Championship. And apparently this thing called the Premier League kicks off the week after, 16th of August.
That'd be nice, wouldn't
it? It is, because I'm on holiday that week.
Which week?
Between the Championship kicking off and the Premier League kicking off on the 16th of August. I'm away that week.
I'm due to return for the opening game of the Championship season. is where I put my holiday for. So maybe that shows my faith, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll be irrelevant.
Shall we go through our likes and dislikes of the last 7 days now then? And it's been a very likeable last 7 days. We'll pick a hero and villain of the week. Where do you want to start with this?
Meow. That was Dan James.
Right. I was going to say.
That was him running.
Thank you for
running super quick.
Confirming my suspicions.
Is 9.24 the highest average score we've ever had? It must be up there.
I actually don't think it is. For some reason, I have it in my head that there was a 9.7 in the game at one point, but that might also have been some mischief on behalf of our wonderful TSB Plus members.
Yeah, they've sent us the scores in for the. Is this the Coventry game? The Watford game, I presume. Yeah. So your top scorer there, Dan James, man of the match, 9.24. Autanaka up in the mid-8s. Solomon, Pirro, Rodon, all north of 8. Lowest scoring was Junior Firpo, and even then that was 7.4. And then your subs obviously a little bit lower than that. Farke got 8.68 out of 10 for that. Factor those scores in, then when it comes to thinking about our likes and dislikes, what did you like from the last week? What did you dislike? Go. Dan James, presumably, featured?
A lot, yes.
Yeah. Ridiculous at this level, says Dickie Wood.
I enjoyed Cinderella Rockefeller, who said, "We won in London." Was there like? The dislike is that Watford isn't really in London.
Is it within sight of London if you look over the big hill? Sort of. It's, for anybody who's not familiar with the geography of this country, Watford is considered, Watford Gap anyway, is considered the dividing line between north and south.
Which is confusingly not very near Watford.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. That's why they put the gap part in, the gap between there and Watford.
Yeah.
That's it.
Watford is for people who can't afford to live in London or St Albans. Is my take on it.
What I will say, that's like Bradford for people who can't afford to live in Leeds. Yeah.
And so is Ponty.
Which is why I'm there.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, it's not been a bad week when your biggest complaint, your dislike, as Isaac has mentioned here, is not scoring 7 goals.
There has been a bit of frustration in the Coventry game and the Watford game that we've not, which is incredibly entitled. But there's a bit of it where you go, Lampard deserved at least a 4 or 5 in that game.
Yeah. Would he have been giving the fingers and all that to the away end at that point had we done the same to him?
There is something fun about being merciful, though, at the same time. It feels even better to go, we could have beat you 7-0, but we've decided to be nice.
Like a Roman emperor with the thumb. Yeah. I like it. Yeah, so he's giving his little 4-2 and we're just, we've let you survive this time. You thin-skinned, fat-balding twat. OX says we didn't score 12, so the stakes have gone even higher there.
Given Rob's not here, I'm going to read Joel Pirro's special cake, who said he's going to give Brendan some love. Beautiful passes to Pirro, made the second goal, and should have got an assist for Dan James to score his hat-trick. Yeah, he was good the other night.
He really was.
Brendan.
Yeah. Looks like he's finding his groove along with the rest of the team. Maybe that's just how it works. They all come together at the same time.
We were discussing this during the game the other day, weren't we? But we were going to try and plot whether when Milana's in the country, he plays better or worse.
You say we. I mean, you discussed it.
Well, I always like to check if she's at the games because she'll always put pictures on and stuff if she's there. So, but she wasn't. It doesn't seem the other night
because she's very much of this generation in the sense that she will photograph every fucking aspect of their lives.
Yeah. You can't just go for a walk around the park without there being like a small portfolio from it.
Speaking of things I like from this week, because we're talking about this generation and appealing to the youth vote. Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show. I'm going to say I liked that. That's because we're cool and we're down with the kids.
Don't know. Was it any good? Yeah. Is he related to Mark Lamar?
Correct. Kick into Knackers has suggested this as a like. Pre-match, I put £10 on Leeds to finish in the playoffs as per Michael's tip. Midway through the first half, I was Googling Reading's record championship points tally. The deranged mind of a Leeds fan.
Yeah, that's about where we are. You just go, well, all logic says we're going up, doesn't it? But then the bit he goes, but still.
So, first things first, should we pick a Ken Bates villain of the week then? Pretty slim pickings.
For a laugh, Jim Ratcliffe.
I quite like what he's doing.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying his work at the minute.
I know, but he's more cost-cutting measures, by which I mean, I was just reading that he's refusing to, well, not him personally, but Ineos are refusing to honour a sponsorship deal with New Zealand Rugby halfway through it, and they've just decided not to pay it anymore, which I don't know if Ineos have a legal team, but I'm pretty sure that's not how agreements work.
Well, I suspect they've got a bigger legal team than us, is what I am going to say. So I'm going to say they're a great bunch of lads. At what point does he start getting rolled into the Glazers out, Ineos out bit? Is he already part of it?
Well, they are currently blaming the deindustrialization of Europe for ending the All Blacks deal.
Right.
And extreme carbon taxes. So he's basically, I think, is he blaming woke? Is that where he's going with this?
Bloody Thunberg.
Yeah.
Stopping Man United being a good team again.
Right.
Thunberg's at the wheel.
Give it Thunberg to the end of the season.
But United. Manchester United.
Yeah.
Right. Get rid of Ruben Amorim.
Yeah.
Who has not turned this football club around.
Well, he did fix it, but it's...
Ruben Amorim has turned this football club around. Unfortunately, it's a 360-degree turn, so they're travelling in exactly the same direction. And we normally fall back on the commentators when we were a bit short of people to fire bullets at.
Yeah, it was funny how Iwelumo, even at in about 3 minutes to go, was going, I think Watford have been a bit unlucky. They are a good team. He's like, we've just got an absolute paste in here.
That sounds strange coming from former Watford player Chris Iwelumo.
I went on a trip and watched it on LUTV from an undisclosed location.
Did
you? Right. Did you use a VPN?
Maybe.
Which one?
A good one.
Say the line, Bart.
NordVPN.
Yeah, Dick Van Shipwich. It's hard to be negative, but I guess the commentary team put themselves up there for shooting down.
I did just watch the highlights of the Sheffield United game and had Don Goodman on. And I was still kind of pleased to have a change of voice.
Yeah.
Between Goodman and Hinchcliffe, it's impossible not to hear him and just go, oh, it's another one of these. So Iwelumo, fine. Just maybe don't have him doing Watford or Stoke. I'm trying to think who else he played for. Some of the Champo losers.
God, so much egg on our face after this show, potentially. This is going to haunt us. May the 24th, the playoff final?
That's the one.
Yeah, it's going in the diary. I'm happy to give it to Iwelumo. And Jim Ratcliffe just carry on doing the good work of making people unemployed. I'll
give it to Tom Ince.
Could be, yeah.
Because there's a chance we never play him again.
I really feel like I need to finish that sentence because I was saying doing the good work of making people unemployed.
Okay.
Because I was being tongue-in-cheek about that. I don't want to see people sacked.
What about if they are...
Unless it's Ruben Amorim.
Manchester United employees?
Maybe they've made some bad life choices. But people need employment, even on that side of the Pennines.
Okay.
If they're on upwards of 50 grand a week, I think they'll survive. Those Manchester United employees might survive.
Yeah. Can we just move on so I stop digging myself a hole?
Okay.
Thank you.
Why don't you move on all the way to northern Thailand?
Wow, what's happening there?
Tuk Tuk tours.
Right. I can't believe you actually you led off on the read there.
I was just trying to help you out.
You did help me out a great deal. The tuktukclub.com, would you recommend them as the go-to guys? Bruce, who's a Leeds fan who runs the thing, as the guys to, if you wanted a basically an amazing experience where you could even get a kiss from an elephant.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Have you seen that video that's done the rounds? It often pops up in the For You feed of like a elephant, and it steals an at off someone's head.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and it pretends to eat it, but then gives it back and puts it back on. I'm going to say the elephants in northern Thailand that Bruce takes you to see are every bit as personality-led as that elephant.
Okay, good. So you're promising magic trick elephants?
Not promising them, I'm saying.
I saw an elephant do a card trick. It's not true.
Right.
Could be, though, couldn't it?
Probably.
Go to Thailand and see.
Best tour ever, this one. Driving tuk-tuks through the middle of nowhere in northern Thailand. You get well fed, you get well rested, well looked after. The tuktukclub.com. TSB 15 for a 15% discount on your booking. I think 2025 is all but full. 2026 should be open for bookings now as well.
And now you know the start of the Premier League season. Just get it in before that, you're fine.
Yeah, good shout. Hero of the Week then. Gitana Baradi Hero of the Week, sponsored by the tuktukclub.com.
I'm going to nominate Joel Pirro because I've at times been an advocate in away games to see Mateo Joseph start. Not because he's better, because he's nowhere near as good as Pirro, but just batter some defenders for a little bit. But we've had a couple of away games where teams have played a reasonably high line and Pirro's been brilliant against them. Yeah, I thought he was excellent against Watford and against Coventry.
His feet for that goal at Watford, I didn't fully appreciate it at the time until I watched it back afterwards. Sat a man down.
Yeah, it's lovely, that.
Yeah.
I think it's the same defender who was flailing on one of the other goals as well. He's just basically on his arse while we're putting the ball in the net on a couple of occasions.
It was
which is nice.
Pollock's lad, wasn't it? And he was formerly of our academy, formerly of this parish. So that's even funnier in a way. So yeah, well done, Joel. Is he having it? Have you got any other candidates?
I mean, Dan James is the obvious one.
Right.
Because scoring goals, being dead quick, being a menace. But yeah, I think with Pirro, in truth, Pirro's slightly helped out in the same way as Meslier has been helped out by the fact we've seen Caldalo. Having seen more of Joseph in recent weeks, it's made it more obvious that Pirro is the best striker at the club.
Yeah, I think Pirro has always been the best striker, but there was maybe an argument for a bit of just having a slightly different option or one that's not so stationary is harsh, but one that moves a little bit more. But yeah, for his goal and also the pass he played for Dan James's goal, I don't think there's anybody else in the Leeds team that I would want to have the ball in that position and have that pass to play.
It's a good shout, that, because I realised on a subconscious level, looking back at that goal, him threading it in behind that defender, I trust nobody more in that position than him, probably. I think, yeah, you're right. Because he knows how to wait a pass. Sometimes it'll just bounce off him terribly, but sometimes he really nails it.
Because it was him against Derby with the pass for Aronson. Like is essentially a game-winning pass. It doesn't really matter who's running on to the end of that, unless it's Pascal Struijk or something. But he has to play the pass, and he does play the pass. So for me, it's Pirro, but that's mainly also because Dan James is vetted on a weekly basis at the minute.
Tough one. You're going for Dan James?
I think I'm happy for Sleepy Joel to have it.
Yeah. Could they share it?
They could do, but I think they'd both be fine with sharing, actually.
Yeah. It's consequence free.
Dan James is a caring, kind young man.
And
Joel's chilled out.
And slow.
He's happy to share. Passing it round, he don't mind that.
It's yin and yang, isn't it? Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, okay.
So Dan and Joel
share it.
Perfect. Good stuff. Right, we're going to be talking to Bryn Law after we record this show. He's going to come in the next hour and a half. That'll be out tomorrow as we record and release this one. So that'll be fun. Have a chat to Bryn and find out what it's like, I suppose, to commentate on loads of goals. More fun than commentating on Burnley, one would imagine. We'll have a chat with Bryn. We'll have a look ahead to the Sunderland game. That's the next one, isn't it? Feels like it's a mile away because it's Monday, but it'll come around quickly. And fingers crossed for another 3 points on Monday. In
the bag already, sort of.
Having spent like 20 minutes on this show talking about why we're going up and why we're good. We're just destroyed by doubt, aren't we?
The players don't seem to be, though, and that's the main thing.
Very much so. We will wrap the show up there. We'll speak to you soon. See you in a bit.
The Square Ball Podcast.